And good evening, Bitcoin gladiators. This is Drew coming with an afternoon report for Bitcoin. I know many of you have been talking to me as well as sending me messages, and sorry that I didn't respond right away. I've just been doing a few things this morning, taking care of not my financial health, but as far as my physical health. And so I'm back in the game again, feeling a lot better. And so, again, sorry for not responding to many of you. So I'm wanting to summarize uh, the video today to kind of answer all the questions in one video. And so sit tight and listen very carefully. So many of you is wondering what's been going on. As far as my last video, I said it's going to dump big time. I said it's going to dump big time if the war begins. The war hasn't begun yet. They are slowly working their way into Ukraine, but there's like no war. There's no fighting. There's no which we don't want, but sometimes the way things go, it'll happen anyway. So just be prepared for the worst. But like I was mentioning to you, it's all up to them. I don't control what the Russians do. If they're gonna take their time to do what they're gonna do, they're gonna take their time, right? So we don't really know the time frame, but we do know whatever they're doing something. But other than that, I mean, it could happen now. It could happen in a few days. We have no clue, but sometimes we think it's going to happen right away because that's what the news says or information. But they're going to do different things to confuse everyone, right? So, but at the same time, we should always be ready for the dump. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. So I'm gonna look at the macro level of everything to kind of get an idea of how we trade at Bitcoin Gladiators. Like the question that was asked over and over again is, well, how did you get into the downside and not worry about it and keep leveraging and not worrying about it liquidating going up? I said, well, when you're looking at something like this, like for instance now, you want to look at the bigger picture, right? And I always say this over and over again. And so what we did, like before this even did this, we already knew that there was a pattern forming over here. And even before it started going down to the downside, we had these already in place, like way over here, right? So we just continue to watch this as it continues to follow our channel. And once it crossed this line, we went into a position here at 42 700. Once that hit, we were leveraging shorting it, and we haven't closed that ever since because it just kept on going down, and it was a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, as you can see over here. Now it's not quite a higher high; it's a pretty much at par, but then it dumped. If this is to go a little bit higher up, then we're going to close our position because there could be possibility of it coming up if the war is not going to be as bad as it seems to be. It all depends on what's going on up in Ukraine and Russia. It's affecting all markets, S&P, like you name it. The big techs have lost 2 years of their profits just because of this. So Bitcoin's holding pretty strong. Like we're still doing pretty good at 36,000, but now it's working its way up because people don't think that the war is going to be as bad as everyone's making it to be. But we don't know, right? Next thing you know, it could be massive casualties, and this thing is going to dump, which I said is going to go down to 32 and below. So the question was asked, so how did you do that? I'm like, I always look for patterns, and I always try to teach people to follow the patterns, right? Like it's everywhere. Like you mean here, the M, it's going to go down, right? A pattern over here. Yeah, you have to wait, but it's worth the wait because now leveraging going all the way down to here is just massive profits, right? And it's an ongoing thing. Like it happens all the time. Like it happened over here too. So these are the things that we do, and then we just follow along with regards to what we see. Now, another tip, just because it crosses this line over here, doesn't necessarily mean you got to get into the trade right away, because if it goes here and it goes back up, then you're going to leverage out, right? So you want to wait until it goes down and then wait for another 2 or 3 ticks so that it confirms the downtrend, so that you don't get leveraged out if it decides to go back up into the channel, right? Like hypothetically here, if we're going to be going up and then it touches this, you're going to lose because it comes back down. So you got to wait for 2 or 3, because a strong downtrend is not going to just go down 2 or 3 ticks. It's going to go down like, how many ticks are those, right? So even if you wait 5 ticks to confirm it, you're still in the trend. So what I'm saying is it's pretty straightforward when you're trading at the macro level, and if you're just watching it, you're going to be fine. So now where are we? Because now everyone lost money or just didn't get into the trade. I'm going to show you to do the exact same thing once again. If we take a look here, something is forming once again. And what is that? We begin to see that, put your lines over here, put your lines over here, and we begin to see that there is another triangle forming. So I do suggest, like for us here at the Bitcoin Gladiators, we're just following along, right? And even though you don't make a big trade right away, once this thing, if the war begins and it's bad, this thing is gonna crash like going down this way. But why would you not follow this line until this occurs? But whether the war or not, this thing has to follow along like this, and as it gets smaller and smaller, eventually once it crosses, it's going to go really up or really down, right? So if you're interested in making profit, you just got to wait, just be patient, because like anything can happen now. Like if the war and they negotiate Russia, man, this thing is going to go way up again. And it would be sad if you're not following this trade over here and it crosses 39,000 and it goes back up to, way back up to 45,000. You know, it's going to be sad to hear like, well, why didn't I go in when it crossed this line, right? Kind of like what happened here. It's the same thing, right? I mean, if you're watching this at the macro level, once it crosses here, you should already been in a trade, right? Once it starts coming to the downside, then just liquidate your position or close your position you would have made from here to here. So it's over and over again. Like you can see this, it's just, it's here. So I do suggest, if you're not going to be trading on a daily basis, like at least try to follow this. And I've already given you the pattern right here. Put it on your computer, take a look at, you know, these price points to get in or to go down or up, and wait for 2 or 3 ticks before you get in. And once it starts plummeting, just let it ride, right? And hypothetically, if you just let this ride and this continues to go down, you don't really have anything to lose, because if it comes back up, just get out in the entry level that you're in and you break even, right? But like I said, once it's a triangle of this nature, especially how big it is, once this thing breaks through one of these resistant lines, there's nothing stopping it. It's gonna go quite high or quite low. So I don't know, if I were you, if I was in your shoes, I would put these price points in at this price over here at 39,388, or put your price points over here and just follow along as this continues to follow, right? Because once it goes over here, it's a different price point. Don't think that this is the same price. You want to be able to get in earlier, so once this starts going to downside, you're going to make more money because the distance is further from the start once it starts dropping. Now the question is, how far is it going to go if it does? So usually for the first, if you guys want to lock profits, and we will do that at Bitcoin Gladiators because profits is good. It's going to either go over here to this distance over here for the first, which is 42,607. So we're going to anticipate another resistance at this point, and it follows along with regards to this line. So it's pretty clear that this is a good place to lock your profit. Or it could come to the downside over here. Well, I mean, sorry, if it were to cross now, it would be, yeah, it would be about here. Same thing. If you were to cross down over here, it's going to go down to 33,000, right? So just make sure you're following along with this because, like I said, you don't want to miss this opportunity. You know, it's harder when trends are like this, although you can as well follow this type of trend, right? Crosses here. But as you can see, it went back up and you would have lost your shirt. So it's important to make sure, though, once you're in the trade, just to follow along with it. And if it crosses certain lines, then just get out of your trade, right? Break even, or you could lose a little. But the risk is worth it because, you know, like over here, it went down so far, and we're actually still in a leverage trade all the way up at 42,000, right? 700, and it's like going down bad. So I just want to encourage you guys to be able to find this because once you're in, it's a great feeling. As well as, you know, you want to reach the bottom too because once this hits the bottom, the only way it's going to go is up. So it's coming. The bottom is coming. It could even potentially be here already if the war and all of that doesn't happen. This will be the ultimate bottom, right? And once you cross here, that's a good place to be. So other than that, I hope that's really clear. And as I continue to do this, like you'll see what I mean, like on how things are looking, right? If it was over here, you just wait over here and it drops and then you buy going there, right? It's the same thing over and over again. So here we are. This is now, and we're all watching this as well, right? This is a fairly easy pattern to trade, and I would suggest to follow this trade. This is not, again, financial advice. This is just what we do, and, you know, just follow along. All right, have yourselves a great day, and we will talk to you once again.